The laughter wasn't even subtle. Crystal glasses clinked, white collars shimmered, and every executive in the room knew what was happening. Logan Chase, billionaire tech icon, had just called over the maid to entertain them. Grace Miller paused mid-tray, glancing at the chessboard like it was a trap, not a game. "You ever play?" Logan asked, smirking like it was rhetorical. He didn't wait for her answer. "Come on. One move. Humor me." His friends chuckled. The cameras didn't come out yet. No one thought they'd need them. Grace hesitated, then walked slowly over, placing the tray down with precision. Her fingers hovered over the board. Logan leaned back smugly, thinking this would be the punchline of the night. But Grace didn't just touch a piece. She reset the entire board. "If we're going to play," she said calmly, "let's do it right." The room shifted. People stopped mid-sip. Logan's smile froze, just for a second. One of the execs muttered something, but was quickly hushed. She moved first. Queen's pawn. Classic. Controlled. Logan's face said he didn't care. But his next move was too quick, too confident. Grace's eyes didn't leave the board. She saw the hole in his defense already. By the third move, he was reacting. By the fifth, he was sweating. It took less than 10 minutes before the inevitable end appeared on the horizon. But no one in the room, not even Grace, expected what would happen when the game was over. Logan stared at the board like it had betrayed him. His king was cornered, his queen useless, his every path blocked. Grace didn't gloat. She didn't smile. She just looked at him with a quiet, polite stillness, the kind that burns more than mockery ever could. Then, she gently tipped her piece forward. "Checkmate," she whispered. The room was dead silent. One of the junior execs let out a stunned breath. A woman near the back slowly lowered her phone, not sure if filming this would cost her her job or make her career. Logan leaned back, trying to laugh it off. "Beginner's luck," he said, voice tight. But Grace had already stood. She picked up her tray like nothing had happened, nodded respectfully, and left the room without another word. It should have ended there. Just a strange footnote in a billionaire's bizarre night. But it didn't. Something in Logan cracked, not in public, but in private. He asked who she was, not just her name, her background, her file, where she was from, if she'd played before. HR had nothing beyond the standard clearance, just Grace Miller, Maid, hired 3 months ago. But one word stuck in Logan's head, Grace. He didn't sleep that night. Instead, he stared at the chessboard in his penthouse, trying to recreate her moves, and failing. And that's when the visit started. The first visit happened just after midnight. Grace was in the staff break room, folding napkins and listening to jazz on a tiny Bluetooth speaker when Logan walked in alone. No entourage, no cameras, just that same crooked grin, now a little less confident. He had the board in his hands. "One more?" he asked. Grace looked up, confused. "It's late," she said. "I know," he replied. "But I can't stop thinking about that game." She almost said no. Almost. But something in his voice, not entitlement, but obsession, made her nod. They played. He lost. Again. And again. And again. Over the next 3 weeks, Logan kept coming back. Always at night. Always quiet. Sometimes bringing expensive coffee. Sometimes nothing but questions. "Where'd you learn that move? Why'd you sacrifice your bishop there?" Grace never offered much, just small truths. "My uncle taught me. Used to play in school. Stopped after Mom passed." Logan didn't press. But he kept losing. Slowly, the man who once mocked her became the man who studied her. Not her, the maid, but her, the mind. Still, he never told anyone. These matches were his secret, his private classroom. And though he never said it, Grace knew what it meant. The most powerful man in the building was being taught, night after night, by someone he once tried to humiliate. But she wasn't doing it for him. She was doing it for herself, and for the girl she used to be before life interrupted her brilliance. Logan's losses weren't just on the board, they started leaking into the rest of his life. At meetings, he was distracted. At parties, distant. People noticed. "He's been off lately," one exec whispered. "Weirdly humble." said another. But no one dared question him directly, not until the quarterly strategy session. When Logan passed on a major acquisition, everyone expected him to greenlight. "We're not ready," he said. "Too much ego, not enough clarity." His voice was calm, but it felt like a rebuke, not to them but to himself. Meanwhile, Grace kept showing up for her shifts like nothing was happening. She cleaned floors, wiped counters, folded linens. But in the dead of night, she transformed into something else entirely. A tactician, a mentor, a silent force, reshaping a man who built an empire on dominance. One night, Logan brought her an antique chess set, marble, weighted. "This belonged to my grandfather," he said. "He taught me how to play. Thought I was a prodigy." Grace looked at the pieces, then back at him. "He ever beat you like this?" she asked, arching an eyebrow. Logan laughed, not the performative kind, but real, gutted, human. "No," he said. "No one ever has." And that's when the first shift happened. He didn't ask for another game. He asked a question. "What would it take to help others play like you?" Grace didn't answer right away, but for the first time, she saw something different in his eyes. Not power, not arrogance. Curiosity, respect, and maybe guilt. It started with a folded flyer left on the staff bulletin board. Free chess lessons. All levels welcome. No logo, no name. Just a time, a room number, and a quiet whisper spreading down the service halls. Grace didn't post it. Logan did. But she showed up anyway, half expecting no one to come. 3 housekeepers did. 1 dishwasher. A janitor on break. They were shy, clumsy with the pieces, apologetic after every move. But Grace was patient, her voice low, her instructions clear. She didn't just teach chess. She taught control, foresight, how to hold your ground without raising your voice. Word spread fast. Within a month, the class had 10 regulars. By the second month, someone from HR wandered in. By the third, so did one of the execs. Logan never advertised the club. He never claimed credit. But he kept funding it, quietly expanding the space, buying boards, even hiring a retired grandmaster to visit. Grace kept teaching. She still wore her uniform during the day, still scrubbed baseboards and restocked supplies. But at night, in that tiny conference room turned classroom, she was something else. Powerful. Unapologetic. She hadn't asked for a promotion. She hadn't needed one. She was taking up space in a system that never expected her to speak, and she was doing it through strategy, silence, and 48 black and white squares. But the real twist? One of the students wasn't just learning the game. He was planning something much bigger. He was new. Young, nervous, and overdressed for a night class, said his name was Jeremy, an intern from Stanford. He claimed he just stumbled in looking for the bathroom, but stayed to watch around. Grace noticed right away the way he gripped the bishop too tight, the way his eyes flicked from her face to his phone. Pretending not to record, he asked too many questions, all veiled compliments. How do you stay so sharp without formal training? Have you ever thought about playing professionally again? The others in the room noticed too, but didn't speak. They trusted Grace to handle it, and she did, by doing nothing. She played him, on and off the board. Let him think he was leading the conversation. Let him think he was winning. But the truth unraveled days later, when an anonymous article appeared on a popular tech blog. The Billionaire, the Maid, and the Midnight Chess Games. It detailed everything. The losses, the secret sessions, even the internal shift in Logan's leadership style. Names were redacted, but anyone in the company could guess. And the comments exploded. Half praised Grace as a hidden genius. The other half mocked Logan for getting schooled by the help. Logan was furious, not at Grace, but at himself. He knew the leak came from that night. Knew the moment he let his guard down, someone would turn her into content. He wanted to bury the story. Grace didn't. "Let them talk," she said. "This isn't your humiliation. It's your education." And that's when everything changed. The story went viral. Podcasts, Reddit threads, think pieces. all dissecting the mystery of the maid who humbled a king. Overnight, Grace became a symbol, not just for quiet intelligence, but for every person in the margins forced to shrink their brilliance to survive. News crews called, sponsorships were offered. One chess federation even invited her to speak at a youth tournament. But Grace said no to every spotlight. "I'm not here to inspire cliques," she told Logan. "I just want to teach the game." Logan, to his credit, didn't push her. Not this time. Instead, he did something no one expected. He started bringing the executives down to the chess room. Not to play, to observe, to listen, to watch how Grace taught discipline, patience, and consequence better than any MBA course ever could. And one night, after class, he sat down across from her and said, "I want you to run leadership training here. Real power, quiet power." Grace stared at him for a long time. "So I'd still be cleaning up your messes," she said. Logan didn't flinch. "No," he replied. "You'd be showing people how not to make them in the first place." She didn't say yes. But she didn't say no, because for the first time, it wasn't charity. It wasn't guilt. It was respect. Earned, not gifted. But just when it seemed like everything had turned, someone from Grace's past showed up at the door and brought a truth she thought she buried forever. He was older now, but Grace knew that face in a heartbeat, her former high school coach, Mr. Ellison. The man who once called her the sharpest player in the city, before vanishing from her life without explanation. "You stopped coming to tournaments," he said gently. "I tried to find you." Grace didn't smile. "You didn't try hard enough." The room fell silent. Logan stepped back, instinctively sensing this wasn't his moment to manage. "Mister?" Ellison apologized, not with empty words, but a manila folder. Inside, newspaper clippings, old rankings, a letter from a college offering her a full scholarship she never received. "It was sent to your school, but someone intercepted it." Grace's breath caught. "Who?" she asked. He hesitated. "A teacher. Told the recruiter you were in trouble. Said you weren't stable. Said it'd be a waste." The betrayal landed like a slap. Grace remembered the exact month her mother fell ill. When she missed classes. When the counselor told her she was too distracted to focus. They'd buried her shot before she even knew it existed. All her life, she thought she'd simply faded. But she had been erased. Silently. Strategically. That night, Grace didn't cry. She didn't yell. She played. Alone. Game after game, until sunrise. And when Logan returned in the morning, she handed him a new flyer. "It's time we open this up. Not just to staff. To girls. To schools. To the ones they keep out of sight." And just like that, her quiet revolution wasn't quiet anymore. The first official Grace Miller Chess Initiative launched on a rainy Saturday morning. 100 folding chairs, 30 boards, volunteers in mismatched t-shirts, and a line of students stretching down the block. They came from public schools, shelters, foster homes. Some had never touched a chess piece before. Grace didn't give a speech. She gave instructions. "Control the center," she said. "Not just the board. The room. Your life." Logan was there, standing in the back, silent, watching. No cameras, no press. He understood now. This wasn't about redemption. Not his, not anyone's. It was about rebalancing the board. And word spread. Major companies offered grants. Private donors asked how to help. Grace only accepted what kept the mission clean. No names on buildings, no PR stunts. Just access. Space. Time. One evening, Logan arrived early. Grace was prepping, setting up pawns. He sat across from her. "One last game?" he asked. She nodded. They played in silence. And for the first time, after months of battles, bruised egos, and humbling, Logan held his own. Not a win, not quite, but not a slaughter either. When he tipped his king, Grace smiled. "You're finally seeing the whole board." Logan grinned. "Because you made me look." She started to gather the pieces, but he stopped her. "Keep it set," he said. "I think your next student's arriving soon." And he was right. At the door stood a young black girl, no older than 10, cradling a broken plastic chess set in her arms. Grace stood. The board was ready. So was she. The girl's name was Zuri. She didn't speak much, just walked up, laid her cracked set on the table, and stared at the pieces like they were old friends. Grace knelt beside her. "You know how to play?" Zuri nodded once. "My brother taught me before." She trailed off. Grace didn't press. She knew that silence, the kind that holds grief. She gently pushed the board toward her. "Let's see what you've got." Within 6 moves, Zuri had launched a bold, unorthodox attack that made even Logan raise an eyebrow. Grace smiled. Not because she was surprised, but because she wasn't. She saw herself in Zuri. Not just potential, but fire. Precision. The kind of genius that doesn't need a stage, just permission to exist. And now, she had it. That night, Grace didn't go back to her shift. For the first time, she wasn't on the clock. She was on her own time. The company announced a permanent mentorship program led by Grace, funded by the board, and open to every overlooked mind the system had forgotten. No titles, no uniforms. Just strategy, equity, and space to think. Logan stepped aside, not out of guilt, but growth. The man who once mocked her now quoted her in board meetings. Grace didn't want revenge. She wanted restoration. And she got it, not by shouting, but by playing. Not by fighting for a seat at their table, but by building her own. And by the time the world noticed her power, she no longer needed their permission to use it. If that ending gave you chills, share it. Brilliance like hers shouldn't have to wait for permission to shine.